Jonah chapter 2, verses 2 and 3. And from here on out in Jonah chapter 2, I'm going to be using the standard versification from your English Bible as opposed to all that confusion between what we see in the Hebrew and the Septuagint, all that kind of stuff. So just heads up on that. I won't use the multiple numbering scheme throughout. And now we've learned that Jonah is in the belly of a large fish. Let's see what he does. Kai prasiuxata Jonas, proskirion ton theon autu, ektes koilias tu ketus. Now that's verse 2. We'll pick up verse 3 here in a minute. And so, and just continuing, prasiuxata there is from prasiuchomai. It's a third singular aorist middle indicative. You see these square stops happening, a lengthening here on the front end of the euchomai. This is to pray, as you probably recall. So Jonah prays. Good response. What has been his response thus far in chapter 1 is to run away and to go down, 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 down away from the Lord. Now he's gone super far down into the water, now into the belly of a large fish. And so his response now is to pray as opposed to run away and deny the Lord. He also prays to the Lord his God. So we would say to Lord his God is probably one way to translate it, because it would be a little bit weird to say his Lord God, but that's the basic idea. So having run away from his Lord, the sailors having prayed to this same Lord, Jonah has now come to his senses. It's his Lord now, and we'll see that again in the next verse. So there's a pivot here. The trial is bringing Jonah to his senses, and we're reminded that he is in the belly or from the belly of this fish. Again, katos being that large sea creature. It's just dog, which is more sort of low-key word for fish there. So putting it all together, Jonah prayed to the Lord his God from the belly of the large fish, if you will, or the great sea creature, something like that. Now, what does he pray? Now, we're going to start out with a fairly lengthy prayer. We'll just go verse by verse. We'll start with the first kind of stanza, if you will, here in verse 3. Kai apen, eboesa in thlipsemu, proskirion ton theonmu, ke esekusinmu, ek koilias hadu kraugesmu, ekusas phonesmu. And even as you just hear the repetition, we've got moo, 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 moo over and over again. This is a very personal prayer. Out of his deep anguish, he's praying to my God to rescue and hear me. So it's deeply personal here. We just have the Kai Apen there kicking things off. Some manuscripts prior to the start of his petition actually precede it with ode. So it's almost like a song that he said or he spoke in an ode. Hold that thought. This whole poetic prayer / song does show up in the odes, the Septuagint odes. I'm going to have a special video on that in due course, show you that. But either way, most manuscripts don't have that. First verb here of his prayer is from boao. You can see that's a first singular aorist active indicative. That means to cry out, something like that. And it's in his thlipsis, or in my thlipsis. Thlipsis means affliction, something to that effect, or distress. So I've cried out in my affliction. And to whom does he cry out? Pros, to the Lord my God now. So in the prior verse, we saw it was his God from the narrator perspective. Now it's the exact same phrase, but it's with my God. So once again, stressing, having run away from this very Lord, now he is turning to him and praying, calling out to him from his distress that, of course, the Lord has put him in a certain sense, but really that's as a punishment for Jonah's own sinful wandering and running away. And so what is his hope, having cried out in this affliction? Esekusin. This is a third singular aorist active indicative. You can tell that akuo is under the hood. Ace means to sort of listen to someone. And so speaking in a third person frame of reference, so he doesn't say you listen to me. He will here in a second. But here I've cried out to the Lord my God, and he has heard or listened to me. And so he's acknowledging that the Lord has indeed answered his prayer. He's answered his prayer by rescuing him using this fish. But it's interesting, the next clause is from the belly or from the abdomen. We've seen that previously, and we would expect it to be from the belly of the fish, but instead, Jonah says from the belly of, in this case, Hades, or Hadu there, but it's Sheol in the Hebrew. Either way, from the belly of the underworld, from the belly of the realm of the dead. Even though he's alive and he's able to call out and to speak and to pray, it's as if he had died or was about to die, something like that. He's likening his plight to death. And we saw that in the prior video where Jesus is piggybacking off of this and saying, okay, just as Jonah was in a sense in Hades for these 3 days and 3 nights, so also the Son of Man will actually go through death. So lovely little connection back again. You can go take a look at that video if you didn't already. So from the belly of Hades is my cry. Krauge here is an outcry or a tearful cry. So it's kind of similar to boao, but just the noun form. So we have to kind of throw in an is, if you will. I'll show you what the Hebrew is here in a second. And then now he does pivot to a second singular aorist. You now, Lord God, heard my voice. Now in the Hebrew, this first word here in this final clause is a verb that the Septuagint has rendered with krauges as a noun, most likely because maybe they confused the form and thought that it was not, I think in this case, a PL form with that first singular ending. They thought maybe it was a noun with that possessive ending. Without the vowels, that would be an easy mistake to make. Either way, the basic idea is there, but in Hebrew it is a verb there, and then the you heard my voice is nicely reflected with a kousis phones mu. So, lovely way it begins here with his petitionary prayer crying out and taking comfort in the fact that you, Lord my God, have heard my cry from the depths of Hades. So, Jonah 2, verses 2 through 3.